June 12th, 2025, Versailles-Midway-Woodford County Planning Commission meeting to order. If you all would please stand for the pledge. There's flags everywhere. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Kim, would you do the roll call, please?
Randall Bohannon. Here. Rich Shine. Tim Middleton.
Here.
Patty Perry.
Here.
Chad Wells.
Here.
Chris Sharp.
Here.
Whitney Stepp. Ashley Goodrich. Here. Lloyd Green.
Here.
Thank you, Kim. The minutes from the May 8th, 2025 meeting were in your packet. If you all have had a chance to review those, if anyone is so inclined to approve the minutes.
So move adoption.
I have a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We have two items on the agenda tonight under non-public hearing items. The first one is Bo and Caitlin Neal have applied for an approval of a subdivision. It's an in-family conveyance plat on a tract of land containing 30 acres, and that's located at 4994 Delaney Ferry Road in Versailles. The property is zoned agriculture A2. Mr. Hunter?
Thank you. Yeah, so there's the arrow up on the screen that shows the location of the property on Delaney Ferry. This is a minor plat that we technically call an in-family conveyance plat. What you're looking at there are approximately a 30-acre tract. This is the zoning splits that you see here, and you can see there was a small rural residential kind of back in the day up along Delaney Ferry Road. You see the residual farmland. The rest of that remaining property that's party to this plat revision is zoned A2, which is eligible for an in-family conveyance. This is the proposed plat that's in your packet. The plat basically takes this one 30-acre parcel and splits it into three pieces. So there's two in-family conveyance lots being created at the same time. So one lot will be, the parent lot will stay 24 acres. The other two lots for children of this property owner, one will be 1 acre in size and one will be 5 acres in size. The plat is technically correct under the standards of the zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations of Woodford County. Went to the technical review committee. It's technically correct. It's been recommended for approval by the technical review committee to the planning commission. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have on the proposed plat.
Does anyone have any questions for Steve? Any questions or concerns? Hearing none, is anyone prepared to take action?
Madam Chair, I just want to make a clarification that Whitney Stepp has joined the commission meeting for record.
Commissioners, any thoughts? So this meets all the criteria under the current zoning laws.
That's correct.
Did we have, I thought we had to have 150 feet of road frontage per lot. Is that?
It does.
It is.
So the parent tract has 252 feet here on the western side, and as you jump over to, it has some dual frontages that are on this plat. The 1 acre tract is not required to have frontage as long as it's more than 400 feet deep from the road. So you can do a 1 acre tract with no frontage as long as there's a platted easement. Any tracts that are being proposed within 400 foot of a right-of-way have to be at least 5 acres in size and then have the 150-foot So the track 2-A that you see, that's 5 acres, you can see it has 396 on one call and 262, so it's got a ton of road frontage there.
Yes.
So, and the plat's technically correct as far as the zoning standards and the subregs that we have for the county.
Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, is anyone prepared to take action?
I'll make a motion to approve the, agenda number 1, Bo and Caitlin deal for an in-family conveyance. Tract of land containing 30 acres located at 4994 Delaney Ferry Road.
Okay, I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The next item on the agenda is Robert, Daniel, and Diana Whalen have applied for an approval of a subdivision. It's an in-family conveyance, plat amendment on a tract of land containing 105.167 acres located at 1744, 1598, 1526, 1500, and 1480 Germany Road here in Franklin. The property is zoned agriculture A1 and conservation CO1.
Yeah, this plat should look familiar to the commission. We reviewed this in-family conveyance plat in November of 2024. This property was cut into 5 lots. There were 4 in-family conveyance lots that were created, as you can see, in the southwest portion of the property. You can see it on the aerial. This is the zoning shot that shows the split zoning that our chair just alluded to. Portion of this property is zoned A1, portion of it's CO-1. Both are eligible for in-family conveyance plats. And then this is the plat that's in your packet. So what reason this plat is back in front of the commission is they are establishing a water line easement that you can see that's running through tracks 2, 3, and 4. So everything's the same as when you all saw it before. There's no new lot configurations, there's no change in the size of the lots, there's no change in folks that are being conveyed to. This is just simply to place an easement through those 3 lots that you see on this plat. So it is a revision to the plat to create a water line easement, so then I guess the homes can have access to water on those lots. The plat is technically correct, just like before. It meets all the standards of the subregs and the Woodford County zoning ordinance and is ready to be considered for approval if you all see fit. I'll be glad to answer any questions. I don't know if the surveyor is here or if the Whalens are here or not, but that's all that's happening with this plat is a revision to establish an easement on those in-family conveyed lots, or 3 of them.
So absolutely nothing is changing except for the placement of the easement.
That's correct.
Any questions or concerns from the commissioners? Hearing none, is anyone prepared to take action?
I'll move that we approve the application of Robert, Daniel, and Diana Whalen.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
A second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The first item on the agenda under public hearing items is an item that was tabled from the prior meeting. The Versailles-Midway-Woodford County Planning Commission has filed a zoning ordinance text amendment related to Articles 2 and 7 of the Versailles-Midway-Woodford County zoning ordinance.
Yeah, so I think the plan was last month we introduced this and asked if anyone was here to comment, and then it was tabled. And just like when we did the short-term rental amendment and other prior text amendments, I think the plan is to untable this if you all choose to, see if there's anyone here to submit any comments into the record. And then staff recommendation would be to table it again and let it sit over the summer and make sure we get all the comments that the community wants to provide the commission on the in-family conveyance. Again, this is an amendment to chapters 2 and 7, but the technical part of this amendment relates to in-family conveyances and the A1 portion of the zoning ordinance. So, and as just a reminder, we sent a recommendation to the county. They rejected it. They spent a few months coming up with a specific provision that they'd like to see incorporated into the zoning ordinance as the new in-family conveyance provisions. Those are up on the screen right now. That's a direct recommendation we got back from the fiscal court. We got that on April 23rd. And then we then had our committee meet, and we had to wordsmith some things to kind of make it flow with the zoning ordinance. And that's where we're at. So again, I think at this point, if you all choose to reopen the hearing or untable it, I think the idea would see if anyone's here to testify on that item, and then table the hearing and come back next month. There was a letter submitted today, set your seat, by Hank Grady, that he'd like entered into the record, so we probably do need to at least accept that. And you guys can read the letter, just comments on the proposal. I don't have anything to add unless you all have any questions.
I guess my thoughts are, this is something that, we've had a lot of comments on and a lot of questions on, and I'm not even sure that even us as a commission are fully understanding what we've done so far. And I'm not sure we are where we want to be, and I think this is something that just needs to be moved on a little bit with some further discussion and so forth.
I agree. My only hesitation is that in the meantime, we continue to get applications that aren't.
But I do think they've slowed down a little
Yeah.
bit because of, it's kind of.
No, I agree, we should table it. I wish we could just pause on any type of in-family conveyance applications or decisions until,
Unfortunately, we attempted to do that, and we can't do that without legislation from the local government. I kind of agree. We had a good debate at the advisory committee level, and then, we got a directive from the fiscal court. There was no timeline on that, obviously. And I think the way we did, for example, short-term rentals, where we introduced it, made sure everyone could testify, and you all debated, and then we fine-tuned it a tad bit. So I think, clearly, I think some of you all want to kind of dig into it in more detail. The timing of it with this other hearing just kind of made it, we got a lot of business right now. So
Right.
I think if you guys will potentially just enter this into the record tonight, or if you guys want to see if there's anyone here to comment, just to give that courtesy if someone came here
Sure.
to talk about it tonight. And then, again, the staff recommendation would be to table it to July, reopen it, and if our agenda's not super loaded, then maybe you guys just really have a focused discussion on this as a commission here. And if it's not July, we'll do it in August or September, whatever. But
So there's
clearly
really
you
no
guys-
timeline
No
on
time
this at
limit,
all?
no. There's no time limit.
Is there anyone in the audience that came to speak on this particular issue, the in-family conveyance and the agricultural, rural, residential, and so forth? Okay, hearing none,
Just you guys accept the letter.
yeah, we need to accept this letter into the record from.
We need to untable it first in order to accept it into the record.
I don't think so, do we?
The item was tabled.
Motion to untable
Yeah.
and then approve, yes.
Okay. So we have a motion to untable? Okay, do I have a second? Okay, thank you. All in favor? Aye. All right, so let's enter into the record the letter that we received on the 12th from Mr. Grady and Associates. And note that there was no one else here this evening to speak on this matter. And we'll just, I need a motion to table this, please.
Move the table.
I have a motion to table. Second. I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, very good. Okay, the next item on the agenda is Vision Engineering LLC has filed an application to rezone a tract of land containing 22.5 acres That's located at 1470 Troy Pike here in Versailles. The requested zone change is from agriculture A1 to high-density R4. And we did close this hearing at the last meeting, but we have a letter requesting reopening the hearing.
Yeah, I'll defer to our attorney real quick.
Okay.
I
Tell the
think
commission what's in front of them.
first we need a motion to take this off the table. I think that any reopening of the hearing has to come from this commission, so you can hear out the requester and kind of sense what issues are being brought up for reopening, because if you do decide to reopen, you have to do it for designated purposes and those only. So that's what you're really seeking out here. What is the information that's going to be added, and then make a vote depending on if you want to hear more testimony on those matters.
Okay. What about, so I know the application was filed back, what, in March? So what about the statutory requirements as far as making a decision?
I think Mr. Schutte could speak to that.
We'll wait.
You'll wait?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Whatever the commission wants to do, we're happy to, if you want to make a motion, it's up to you all.
Okay, so we've got that waiver. That takes us off the clock, and so now it would be appropriate to hear whatever information you need to know in order to make a vote on reopening the hearing or not.
Okay. And,
First, motion to take it off the table.
yeah, I need a motion to,
I'll move to take it off the table.
okay, to have a motion to take it off the table. Second. Have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So I believe we have a representative of Children and Baxter attorney here. And if you could maybe just state in one or two, three of the most sentences, whether or not you have new information and what that might be.
Okay, sure, Your Honor, Commissioner. It takes time. You got a room full of people here, and I think there's a lot of folks who didn't have an opportunity to speak at the last meeting that wanted to. This is obviously a really important issue for this community, and I think y'all will be in the best position to make the best decision if you're able to hear from everyone who wants to weigh in on this issue. For my clients, they didn't have an opportunity to hire counsel until very recently. You guys got that letter from us earlier this week. There was 2 different general development plans that were submitted in this case. The second one came very close in time to that last meeting, and so my clients, and I think other folks maybe, have also taken the position that they'd like to have this reopened. We just like a little additional time to be able to digest this information, review the law, and submit that information to you guys at the July 10, 2025 hearing. I know in particular traffic issues have been raised, and there's several different traffic studies. 2 have come from the applicant, a couple have been commissioned by the city. We'd like some additional time to sort of sync those different moving parts and provide you guys with additional information to put you in the best position possible to make a decision about this very important zone change application.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to request that the hearing be reopened?
On the basis of specific issues. And I
Yes.
think if we could, Ms. Baxter, you mentioned traffic, kind of the broader idea of reacting to this development plan, but where we have to speak to specific issues that we're going to use to reopen it. Is there anything beyond traffic that you'd like for the commission to make part of their motion, should they be inclined?
Sure. I mean, I think also the comprehensive plan, having some time to really flesh out how this application does or does not further the goals of the comprehensive plan. That's another important consideration.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a request for a specific reason for reopening the hearing? Okay.
And then we would have any response to that motion.
I think he is.
Joe Johnson with Cedar Ridge, also president of Cedar Ridge Homeowner Association. So definitely the bullet points that our attorney spoke to. There are some concerns also over the retention structure for that plat. as I understand it, it does not have a retention basin design other than just using an existing pond structure. So there's concern with regard to the water mitigation of the proposed plat as well. So that involves a little bit more of a geological perspective from perhaps an engineer, someone with a little bit more expertise and authority that we can consult to bring that information to the table.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Schutte?
Scott Schutte on behalf of the applicant Vision Engineering. While I appreciate Mr. Johnson's comments, I think that's all related to development plan process. It's not subject to the zone change, and Ms. Baxter's, that's all been addressed, we believe. But like we said, we're happy to wait the 60 days, whatever the commission would like to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners?
Given the developer is okay with waiving the 60 days, I don't have a problem reopening it, but I think it should be limited to just the attorney speaking, because we have heard from the community, there was adequate notice, we've seen the editorials, all that Facebook. I think everyone's had an opportunity to be heard, but since they're not gonna wait, or since they're waiving, I have no problem opening it, but I don't think we should be here for 3 hours again. I think it should be limited to the attorney speaking.
New information introduced and maybe any response to that. I mean, if someone from the public had salient response to new information introduced, I think that's the nature of the hearing, is that back and forth.
No, for sure, but I mean, as far as on the attorney, like, I don't think we need to hear anything else about traffic, and you've heard all of that. So as a matter of just fundamental fairness, and Scott's waiving, I have no problem opening it, but it should be limited. It should not be open to all. Their attorney. If they have issues, they can take them to their attorney, and the attorney can speak on their behalf. That's just my thoughts. Obviously, we have an entire commission, so.
And I guess just for clarity, and I know it's in the letter, but I represent Cedar Ridge Homeowners Association, Hemsley Homeowners Association, Stourbridge 1, Stourbridge 2 Homeowners Association, and Karen Iceberg with Red Bud Hill Farm. It was my impression, but I could be wrong. I thought there were others too that wanted this reopened so that they could submit new testimony and evidence. And I don't know if any of those, if I could be wrong, but
We had
that was-
several hours last month, and everybody, when we were done, nobody else wanted to speak. So
Okay.
I feel like we've heard quite a bit.
I just wasn't sure if there's other folks who'd asked that this be reopened, and if they had other reasons. I just want to be clear about who I represent and who, if there's somebody else who's got a different perspective. Let them speak.
I guess that's the question.
Staff did not receive any other.
May I be recognized?
Yes,
Thank you.
if you could state in just a couple of sentences.
Absolutely. Andrew Costa, resident of Stourbridge subdivision since 1986. And the one comment, in addition to all the other things that our attorney has presented, is something that bothers me a little bit, is the confliction between the two traffic studies. One done by the city of Versailles, who I assume has done it in a way cognizant of the safety and well-being.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
This sounds like evidence. We're taking
Yeah,
testimony.
we can't take evidence now. We're just trying to find
Oh,
if there's a
okay.
new reason to open.
Then my comment is that I do have concerns with traffic study, and I have concerns with the rezoning of the property and its inconsistencies towards surrounding subdivisions. Thank you.
What's the pleasure of the commission?
Is there anyone else here not represented by an attorney that needs to speak? Would be my question.
They
But we can't
speak tonight. They can't speak tonight, but if we reopen the hearing, they can. Unless we limit it.
And I think that's what you've been asking of the crowd, if there are any
Yeah.
other concerns
Yeah.
that need to be raised. So,
And we're not getting any.
To that point,
No, no.
there's two other HOAs that have not had the time for the board to meet to make the decision to join with these other parties. One of those, for example, being Legends.
these are my thoughts. We postponed this to allow the public to meet face-to-face with the applicant and their lawyer.
Haven't they done it? With the lawyer?
Yes,
They already
with-
did that. They
with-
met with them after the last time we
Yeah,
tabled it.
yeah.
They had a whole public meeting, so the idea that people haven't had a chance to articulate their position to me, I
Yeah.
just.
And then after that, it was made notice that there was additional time for everyone to come in and speak, which was allowed at the last meeting. I agree with you, Whitney. I don't have a problem with allowing the attorneys if they want to do something again, but I don't think, other than that, I don't think we have anything else that needs to be discussed. And to the point of the retention basin, you know, that's gonna go before the city regardless, which is another eye on that retention basin if that's an issue. But, I mean, I'm in agreement with what Whitney said. If we wanna turn it over to the attorneys, maybe we do that, but I think there's been ample time here for everybody to comment on what needs to be said and what everybody feels.
So Chris, you and Whitney seem to feel that maybe we should reopen the public hearing and allow Ms. Baxter or Childers, whoever representatives are, to come and give their new information that they feel like they have, and then let the applicant have a chance to rebuttal and limit it that way? I'm fine with that. I mean, you know, we've had that waived. If both parties are fine with that, I mean, I'm fine with that. Whitney?
Can I ask for a point of clarification? So you've heard from us. My name is Mick McNulty. I live in Rose Ridge. Will we hear from you as to how you're going to reconcile a traffic study that seems to be on the opposite ends of the spectrum? Because I think if we heard some of that dialogue or could understand some of that,
Okay.
maybe then we would better understand whether we have to come up and talk again or if it's a closed subject.
Okay. We'll let the attorneys, if we do this in limited scope, we'll let the attorneys express the opinions or the new evidence.
The planning commission will deliberate. That's always what happens. We take evidence and then we deliberate about that evidence and adopt findings.
Mr. Middleton, you seem to have something you wanted to say. Okay. Something lost down there. Ashley, do you have any thoughts? Or is anybody prepared to make a motion to reopen the hearing with a limited scope?
Am I allowed to
I'm
speak?
sorry.
Yeah. Hi, Michelle Peck-Williams, and I am a recent purchaser of land on Prairie Rose Way, and I didn't actually buy the property until April. So it was not disclosed to me at the time that this was going to happen, and that could have very easily impacted my decision of where to purchase the land. And so I would like to have additional time to research what's going on and contribute to the information. And this is from Rose Ridge, and Rose Ridge, as has been stated earlier, has not yet been involved.
Okay.
We're just building. We just have the foundation started today.
Okay.
And so I'd like to have time to get with the attorney and be able to contribute.
Thank you.
I was like, I don't see a reason to untake it, and be honest.
What do you mean? Like, you want to take action tonight, is what you're saying?
I think it might be wise to reopen it with limited scope.
Okay. Just everyone feels heard and
Yeah.
procedurally.
Just to clarify, it'll just be myself.
Yes, only
Yes.
attorney.
Well, that's what I'm asking, if Rose Ridge is one of the others, hire a subsequent attorney.
we
I
limit
think
it?
what we have here tonight, I mean, we've given ample time at this point for everybody to seek representation if that's what they want to do. And I think at this point, we limit it to the two attorneys that are here tonight.
And I imagine those HOAs are probably looking to retain Childers as well, so.
Yeah, Madam Chair, you asked if we can do that. The bylaws on reopening say that matters to be considered and testimony evidence offered at the hearing are limited to those specified in the motion. So I think you can say in the motion what we're gonna hear about, who we're gonna hear it from.
Okay.
So I'll move that we reopen the public hearing, but that it's limited to testimony from solely the attorneys that are currently representing the parties. And the scope is restricted to that which has been introduced in Ms. Baxter's motion earlier.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this?
On that motion and second, where it talks about specifying the grounds and what hearing matters, I think you could just allude to what Ms. Baxter raised, the traffic issues, comp plan, retention structure.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So the public hearing will be reopened and presented next month.
Yes.
Just for the audience clarification, could you articulate those 3 points again for the confinement to the discussion?
The issues that were raised were traffic issues, comp plan, retention structure, and water mitigation.
Thank you.
Okay, let me find my agenda. I've done my. Okay, the next item of business is Sea Island Soil Company LLC has filed an application to stress test for me too.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, no, go ahead.
If you all could go ahead and move your conversations out in the hall if you're leaving, please, because we have further business to discuss. Sorry.
That's okay.
Please, please.
Okay, the next item of business, Sea Island Soil Company LLC has filed an application to rezone a property on a tract of land containing 1.19 acres, and that's located at 197 Browns Mill Road here in Versailles. And the requested zone change is from single-family R1B to agriculture A1. Mr. Hunter?
The arrows up on the screen shows 197 Browns Mill Road. You might also note that 301. There's two properties here, and if you look at the zoning, we'll get to that in a second here. If you look at the zoning map, we got a piece of property that's zoned R1B, and then the adjacent farm is zoned agriculture. This is a zone change request and a concurrent conditional use permit request. What the applicant would like to do is rezone the single-family portion back to agriculture, combine it with the rest of the farm, and then has requested a conditional use permit to have the authority to put a short-term rental on this property. We'll go back to the photos here real quick, and Again, this is the aerial of the property 197. This is the house that's currently at 197, although there's been some renovation that has occurred. I'll show you some pictures later on in the staff report about the inside of the applicant submitted. This is a shot of the, that we're going to talk about from the comp plan map in just a second. Again, it's 2 applications were filed. I think you guys have seen zone change requests like this in the past. The single-family zone is not eligible for short-term rentals. The ag zone is eligible. So the zoning is agreed to. Conditional use permit is kind of the second step. So there's 2 potential motions here. Zone change is agreed to. Zone change. So page 1 of your staff report shows that we have an application filed on May 15th. You heard that the location is 197 Brownsville Road. Again, current zoning is single family, R1B, and proposed zoning is going back to agriculture. So it's a down zoning in nature. There was a general development plan submitted as well as a conditional use permit application. Page 2 of your staff report gets into the comprehensive plan, goals, and objectives, and goals for particular cases. Those are on page 2, 3, and 4 of your staff report. Page 4, we get into the area-wide policies that we look at for all zoning requests. There's 11 of those outlined on pages 4 and 5 of your staff report. And then we get to page 6, we get into our comprehensive plan discussion. Get to my right map here. Related to the land use districts. So this property is in what we call the rural district. It's interesting to note when you look at the map here, across the street is actually the equine preserve area, but in the comprehensive plan, the west side of the road, and even some properties you see adjacent there are not in the equine preserve. They're in the rural area. And as you know, the rural area is eligible to do rural cluster zoning, so they're not proposing that. This is a down zoning back to agriculture. So it's equine preserve, it would be different comp plan designations if we were across the street. So the comp plan map that you typically see is this one for the county, and again, you can see up there the northeast part of the county. The equine preserve just meanders in and out of some different areas. This happens to be one of those areas. So again, this is the rural district. The rural district general development policies are on page 7. The rural district infrastructure related policies are on page 5. So as we get into the meat of the zone change request, we get to page 8, we're looking at Article 409, point 3, on what's required in application. The development plan obviously comes in, we're going to talk about that in just a second. That's on page 9 of your staff report, and also on page 9, item D, is where it gives the planning commission the authority to hear concurrent applications and act on a conditional use permit when submitted with the zone change. So in a sense, you all take the role of the Board of Adjustments when a zone change is filed and an application is filed concurrently. And that's outlined on page 9. Page 10 talks about what a general development plan is, and we just talked about that in the prior case. It's important to note at the bottom of page 10, a general development plan includes any or all of the following down on items A through J. It's not mandatory that you have every item. It can include any or of those items. So general development plan is more conceptual in nature. So this is go to page 11 of your staff report. This is the general development plan that the applicant submitted. And there's not a lot there because it's not a real intense case. There's already a house there, there's already a driveway there. And what the applicant is proposing, if you can read some of the verbiage on the general development plan in your packet, is to rezone the 1.19 acre tract back to ag, commit to the development plan, consolidate that with the ag tract that's adjacent, and then if the CDP successful, operate short-term rental in the existing house. So really all there was to show on this was the existing house, parking, and proposed lot line revisions. So there had to be a plat that would come later also. If you guys approve the zone change and conditional use permit, they still would have to do a consolidation plat and roll that back to the other tract. They submitted a fairly lengthy narrative, comprehensive justification statement on page 11, 12, and 13 in your staff report. Page 13 then outlines the ag zone and the different ordinance provisions. Turn to page 14 of the staff report, you see at the bottom the authorization to do a short-term rental establishment once you get a conditional use permit obtained. Page 15, we talk about overnight accommodations, specifically short-term rentals, like Airbnbs, etc. The short-term rentals is our technical term. Page 16 outlines the county standard, and at the bottom of 16, what the Board of Adjustments CUP concurrently, that you guys can consider other things in the general area of the neighborhoods, if there's other short-term rentals, for example. Page 17 is our definition of short-term rental, which you all have seen several times. Page 18 is our conditions of approval. This gets more to the conditional use permit aspect. Article 4, Section 4075 talks about conditional use permits and conditions. The applicants have put forward 12 conditions with their CUP, and I won't read all of those, but they're pretty detailed. They're probably a more detailed list than we've had with other CUPs, either at the Board of Adjustments or here. Typically, we see maybe 7 or 8 conditions, sometimes 5. They've got 12 specific conditions. One of the ones we haven't seen too often, no hunting, no smoking. Those are kind of interesting. They kind of put the gamut of basically what the house rules are going to be on the property and embedded them into their submitted conditions of the CUP. Zoning ordinance spells out the review and findings for the zoning map amendment. That's on page 19, 20, 21, findings under the state law, and then conditional use findings and review conditions on 22 and 23. Cookie cutter motions on 24 and 25 for the zoning map amendment, up or down, and a cookie cutter motion for the CUP. So again,
Get a break.
if you guys are inclined to approve the zone change, then there would be a second motion even on the conditional use permit at their time together. That's all I have. I kind of go into this. I'll go through the pictures first. The applicant may want to address these. They did submit photos of the house, outside and inside. Again, the idea is to convert this to a short-term rental establishment here in Woodford County. So they did submit these photos as part of their application. You guys typically don't see the insides of houses on things like that, but the Board of Adjustments would on a case like this. That's all I have. That's all I have. Any questions? I'm the applicants here.
The Zillow posting says that zoning is going to include one additional residential structure. You know what that is? I pulled up the property on Zillow, and it says zoning has been approved for one additional residential structure. Do you know what that's referring to?
No, Zillow isn't exactly a.
Oh, no, I'm just asking. I mean, the owner usually puts it up there. That's what
So going back, looking at the zoning, it's zoned R1B, which means one house, one lot.
Yeah, okay.
The other parcel that's zoned ag, CO, and even conservation, it would be eligible for a dwelling on that farm because it's a standalone lot. There's an address on that barn. But in theory, I guess there could be a dwelling built, but when they consolidate this back to one parcel, it's one house, one lot.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not sure what Zillow is.
If I may, we did put the
Let
Zillow
me
listing on.
open the public hearing first, okay?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So I'm gonna go ahead and open the public hearing. I should have done that earlier. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. We did put the listing on. I think probably at one time we looked at selling the property. We had a listing agent that might have put it on, but our plan, and I'm sure Elliot will share with you, you know, technically it's 2 tracts of land, 197 Brownsville and 301 Brownsville, and I'm in the horse business as well, so I would like to preserve the land as much as anybody, and so our, you know, request essentially, you know, it would ruin any chances that any further additional, yeah, that's right, this in merging track A and B together would ensure that this is the only house that can ever be built on the land, which is what I'd like to do to preserve the beautification of it. It's surrounded by Elkhorn Creek. It's very nice. The way it sits now, that's, you know, that's how they sold it to us essentially, but I want to merge them to make sure that doesn't happen. We can preserve the beautification of the equine country. So.
This is Josh Barrett, by the way. He's, just so you know, he's
I'm
not a
sorry.
random stranger. He owns Sea Island Soil Company that owns 197 and 301 Browns Mill. 301, they're continuous tracts. 301, and they're zoned totally differently. 301 is zoned A1 and CO1, while 197 is R1B. And what he wants to do is make the 197 zone similar to the contiguous tract and make it A1, which is entirely consistent with the comprehensive plan and the land use district map. So what he is seeking to do is actually fulfilling what the Planning Commission has desired all along, and that is to have these properties support, in these rural areas, support agricultural and support equine activities. And his goal is to preserve the land and not develop it in any way, and to use it consistent with the agricultural zoning ordinances. And as Josh has said, he spent a lot of money renovating this house, and he takes pride in the properties, takes pride in the houses, he takes pride in Woodford County, and he has previously been approved by the Board of Adjustment for a conditional use permit for Airbnb at, I think, 270 Sellers Mill Road. And that was issued back in October, and we listed similar requirements that he must satisfy in order to retain the conditional use permit, and there's been no complaints whatsoever. He's done everything he's supposed to do, and he would do the same thing here. So.
I had a consolidation plat with the staff suggestion, because to just zone the 1 acre tract back to ag would be, it'd be non-conforming. So the 1.19 acre tract, had they just zoned it and requested it, when we were trying to convert a 1 acre tract back to ag, it doesn't really fit the ag threshold. The remaining farm is actually non-conforming too, it's just about 9 acres. But by consolidating the 1 acre with the 9, we have a non-conforming tract getting bigger. So really, we just requested that they consider a consolidation and tie that into the development plan, because it's just zoned a 1 acre tract back to ag kind of makes sense from the comp plan, but doesn't make sense from the zoning ordinance requirement. We'd be creating a non-conforming ag tract. But this way, we'll actually be zoning this back to ag, putting them together and taking a non-conforming 9 acre tract, making it bigger, which we can do. And then we'll have 1 lot, 1 house, and again, it's a lot tighter for future residential development.
Okay, I'm Elliot Miller. I apologize. With Miller, Griffin, and Marks, we represent Sea Island Soil Company. And I think it's also important to point out that Mr. Barrett's neighbors, who are William and Mary Pence at 141 Browns Mill, have submitted a letter in support of the Airbnb, and they're the neighbors. And the other neighbors, Elkhorn Farm LLC, which is at 260 Frankfurt Pike, I think they already operate an Airbnb, and there's no issue, and they take no issue with him operating one either. So nobody in the surrounding community has or will voice any objection, and in fact, we actually have letters of support.
Okay. Any questions for them before I see if these people back here can ever speak on this matter? Were you all here to speak on this matter? No, okay. If you don't mind, state your name.
Pete Peterson, resident for 16
Okay,
years.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
You're
I
fine.
apologize.
You're fine. My question is, a lot of talk about available housing. And short-term rentals have an impact on available housing across the country. Is there any, whether it's comprehensive plan or in our city, some way to make sure we don't have too many short-term rentals versus people living in houses? So it's really a question for you guys in the comprehensive plan. I love the fact you're putting the land together. This is not about you guys as far as overall. So it's really a question. I don't know if that's a consideration or if that's in the thought process, but that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Miller, how many rooms were there? I missed
How many
that.
rooms do you have? 4.
4, okay.
Any other questions?
So is it white now or gray? Which one is it?
It's white.
It's white now?
Yeah.
Okay.
And when we originally went to sell the property, we had an offer on just the land, and the guy wanted to buy the land separate and actually, put a house on it, and I said, yeah, I don't know. So it caused me to that's why I went this route. I said, I think we'll just pull it off the market for now. And so we did.
The reason I asked about the rooms is because our standards for this talk about each guest room being designed to accommodate 2 adults. I see you have a maximum of 15 guests.
Yeah.
Could you speak to that?
Well, I would need, go ahead, but it would need to be whatever the limits are is what the limits are.
Okay.
Obviously, we can't exceed those, and if the limit is 8, then that's what will have to be in the permit.
I think it would be 8 adult guests and then whatever children, is that correct?
I think when we adopt short-term rental, people convert houses, and the assumption was, most three-bedroom homes, 2 adults and a room or suite. But then there's other, if down the road, there's other spaces in the house that can be converted to a bedroom. Sure. And the building inspector's okay with that, then, if you said, well, right now, we think we're gonna have 6 bedrooms.
Sure.
Then it's 2 times 6, and you have 12.
Of course.
So right now, a lot of folks just come and say it's a 4-bedroom house, and we're not changing the bedroom layout, but some would convert dining rooms or other bonus rooms too. So the number can be, if you want to say it's 5 bedrooms, but right now you're saying it's 4, and he's saying it can't be 1, 2 people.
That's fair, that's fine.
Plus kids.
Of course, and that won't be a problem.
And you could, of course, come back and modify if you did renovate.
Absolutely.
Right.
And you have letters available from the neighboring groups that you talked about that you could submit?
Yes,
For-
we have a lot.
You have those? Okay. Okay. Perfect, okay.
Well,
I haven't seen.
there's only 3 neighbors, and 2 of them are the same. And that's
Okay.
the Pences. So they submitted 1, but they own 2 tracks, so.
Yeah.
This is a zoomed out shot on Brownsville, just a few properties out there.
Oh, here's the letter.
Henry, do we have to move separately on these items, or can they be combined motions?
The findings are a little different, so I think it'd be smart to move separate.
Unless-
So I can go ahead and close the public hearing? Okay, commissioners?
One thing, I don't know if Mr. Peterson asked a question. I want to address that. We do have a process in place, a conditional use under Section 7 of the statutes that we have to approve each one of these on an individual basis. So we do have that along with some zoning requirements, so.
Well, we also, when we amended the goals and objectives, we did address tourism, short-term rentals, goals and objectives as a tourism directive. And we have cities that have, the city and the county all have individual ordinances. The city of Versailles is looking into that exact issue about short-term rentals and their relationship to affordable housing opportunities. And are studying that now, and it's very likely they're going to amend their short-term rental ordinance to maybe look at that. It probably is more of an urban problem, or in the city, as these convert to short-term rentals, you lose opportunities for affordable housing opportunities. So it's a valid point, but in the county right now, their ordinance is the newest of the 3 jurisdictions. The cities have had it a while, and they're getting ready to change it. So I think that is going to be looked at, but today, this is our standard for short-term rentals in the zoning ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter.
Any other questions or concerns? Is anyone prepared to take action?
I'll make the motion to approve the road zoning map amendment together with the condition upon the general development plan submitted by the applicant based upon the testimony and documents presented in this public hearing, as well as the letters that were received today. The proposed zoning map amendment is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan as demonstrated by compliance with the adopted goals and objectives, land use district map, and the area-wide land use district policy. So therefore, the proposed amendment is in agreement with the comprehensive plan. Further request that the motion include any summary of evidence presented today by any witnesses at this public hearing.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We don't need to open the second public hearing for the next one, do I?
Do you have any different presentation for the conditional use?
No, it was all intertwined. All I can do is screw it up at this point, so no.
All right. Commissioners, any questions on the conditional use permit application?
I would suggest that if you're inclined to vote approval, that you include applicant conditions modified to show a maximum of 8 adult guests, and that you find that the narrative shows that it meets our 407.5 criteria, and that the number of guest rooms will not have a negative impact on the surrounding area.
adult guest, right?
Yes. Okay, is anyone prepared to make that motion?
I shall move.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. You're in business.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. You guys are lucky to have Steve. I've been to other Board of Adjustments and Planning Commission meetings, and I don't think there's anybody better, so.
Thank you.
Thank you
You
all.
guys have a nice night. Thank you all. Thank you.
Maybe you need to disclose a conflict. It's coincidental.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is an amendment for the budget for the 2025.
Yeah, so, got several new business items here. We're at the end of the fiscal year, as you all know, June ends the fiscal year, so we got some housekeeping things we need to roll through. The budget is first. The budget committee met, let me get my packet here. Budget committee met on May 5th, or May 8th, 2025, budget personnel. There's two items, so when you look at your budget document, we actually have to take two actions tonight. We first need to amend the current year budget, so that is the column that you see third from the right with the yellow highlights. Every item that's highlighted in yellow in the current budget needs to be amended for kind of housekeeping reasons, final end of the year adjustment type reasons. So the first action would be to amend the current year budget, and these are both on the same page, which is where we're at today. And again, everything in yellow needs to be just slightly amended. Overall, everything balances out well. These are just things we just missed targets. For example, like advertisement, vehicle maintenance, we had an issue on the car. So insurance was a little less. So some things are less, some things are more. And if you look at the bottom line of the budget, it really didn't adjust much. It adjusted everything by about $5,000 overall. There's several items, starting with the beginning balance that was reflected in our audit. So that's what budget amendment number one is, would be to amend the current year budget.
Any questions for Steve on this? Anyone prepared to take action?
I'll move to approve the budget amendment number one for fiscal year 2025.
Okay, I have a motion to approve. Have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? All right, the next item on the agenda is the final budget for the 26th year.
Yeah, so that would be the far right-hand column on this document. Again, the budget committee reviewed the final budget document. There's been a few minor tweaks, mostly related to our appropriations from the city and the county. But most of those numbers, as you can see, are very similar to what you all looked at. And we looked at the preliminary budget, I can't remember, February, March, I believe it was March. And we adopted a preliminary budget to send to the cities and the county. And then, of course, we wait on them to get their budgets finished out, and then we have to adopt our budget here before the year kicks off, fiscal year 26. So this is the final budget. It's just a placeholder. One thing to note, if you look at column one at the top, you can go back at the prior year. We carried over $251,000. This year, when we were looking at the preliminary, we were estimating that at 167. So this last quarter's been a lot slower than we anticipated, and we're looking to carry over about $143,000. So we're starting off our year about $100,000 less than the prior year. The revenue estimates are just a placeholder till we get going into the year. Salaries, operating costs, everything. If you go all the way down to the last page of the budget, you can see our carryover or projected reserves are extremely lower. We're just going to start off the year in a conservative fashion. All the bills we need to pay, all the expenses are kind of in the budget. But you can see down at line 70, last year we had about $81,000 in reserves. With this budget amendment, it rolled down to 76. When we looked at the preliminary budget, we thought it was going to be around just less $6,000. It's up a little bit more to $20,400. The target is to have a 10% reserve. So if you look at line 68 and you look at line 70, perfect world, we'd have about $50,000 reserve starting this fiscal year. So we'll just have to start off conservative and kind of hope these fees roll in, hope the construction industry kind of picks back up. But again, the final budget is very similar to what you all looked at in the preliminary budget, and we have to put a budget director to start our fiscal year. If some things change early into the fiscal year, we can come back and amend the budget. Commissioner Shine's not here today, but he reviewed this remotely, and he was, I believe he was here on the meeting we had on the 8th or the 5th, or May 8th, so, when we looked at all these items. So again, we do have to adopt the budget to get our year started, and if we have to come back first month, the first quarter, make adjustments, we can.
Any questions on the 26 final budget? Is anyone prepared to take action?
Did I understand it says that Rick had reviewed this?
Yeah, he's seen it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I forget who's on the budget committee, but I believe.
Rich is the chair.
He's the chair, and I
Yeah.
think we had everyone there, plus our chair, so I think we had all.
I wasn't there.
No, you weren't there, on that's right.
Maybe.
Yeah, May Day, that's right.
Is anyone prepared to take action?
I'll make a motion that we approve fiscal year 26 final budget.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
A second.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next is the employee benefit manual.
Yeah, so I'll tell you why that's in your packet. You don't see this too often, employee benefit manual, but we put that together a year or so back. So we have an employee personnel policy, with a more formal policy. The benefit manual basically is our holidays, our sick, our vacation, and our healthcare premiums and healthcare plan options. So this is more than just a benefit manual that employees get each year, and really there's not much different. The main change in this, again, the Budget Personnel Committee has looked at this, is we had to make a decision on our health, dental, and vision policies, and the Budget Personnel Committee decided to keep the same policies by type that we currently have, but the premiums have changed. So what this manual reflects now are the splits that the Planning Commission pays and the employees pay for health, dental, and vision. So those are reflected in the benefit manual. So if you all adopt this, we'll distribute that to the employees, the three of us, and then everyone will understand what their contribution they'll be making as an employee and then what the Planning Commission makes. There is a change on the sick leave time, a minor adjustment that would increase sick leave a little bit each month for the employees. And that's really all that's different. And everything that's changed is underlined in red on the document. We're bumping up the sick leave a little bit when you hit the second tier after your probationary time from 8 hours a month to 10 hours a month for sick leave.
I do have a question on that. Why is the monthly accrual in the beginning 6¼ hours when the day is 7½ long?
Yeah, because we just made it 75 hours, which is 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
So to give them 2 weeks sick leave, it nets out 6 point whatever. So you can see when the way it was, if you start your first year, you're only getting 2 weeks sick. When you hit your 13th month, you jump up to the 120 hours, which are quite a bit.
So if a person calls in sick, they're out the whole day, not just 6¼ hours,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they'd be out 7. Well, they might take a partial day. They might take off 4 hours, might take 2, they might take the whole day.
So what if somebody doesn't have any time and they accrue 6.25 the beginning of the month and they miss a sick day,
Well, that's not.
7½ hours?
So we don't have that issue. We have no employees.
I'm
that-
just saying, what if that's the scenario?
Well, if you get 6.2 hours and you don't have any sick time, then that's all be no different if you use 30
So
hours.
then, do they not get paid for that other hour?
I guess that's all they got. The very first month, if that scenario is they call in sick and they need an extra hour.
Well, I mean, in the future, if you hire new employees,
Yeah.
that, you know,
We're giving them 2 weeks sick, you know. I'm not sure why we used to give 8 hours when the day was 7.5 either. The old way was you got 8
that
hours.
was a county policy.
Because it followed the state policies.
That we followed, that's right.
So we work a 7.5 hour day and we got 8 hours. We got a day or 8 hours, but we work 7.5. I think the idea is to have a probationary period for a new employee. And then once you hit a certain target, you get the max amount the other ones get. All the employees we currently have are in that higher category already. We're just bumping it up.
Back to your question there a minute ago.
Uh-huh.
The way we did when I worked for the state, if you didn't have a sick time, you had to take a vacation.
Took vacation.
Yeah.
And if you're calling in the first month, we need to talk about that too.
Well, I mean, you may have a sick child when you start. You never know what happens.
Exactly.
But right now, it's not really a situation we got for any employees. We just wanted to bump it up. If you guys think the probationary period ought to be higher, that's fine, you know, I'm sure you. We actually, when we created this, we created the sick leave bank. I don't think any employees have contributed to that. I'm getting ready to make a contribution to that myself. The idea is to have a sick leave bank, so if we had an employee that called in or started work, let's say they had an accident and they needed 5 days off, that's why we created the sick leave bank. They could make a request to get time from the bank. So we want to load some time in there to keep that reserved. So if someone had a catastrophic situation and they only had 40, right now, let's say you only had 80 hours and you need to be off for a month, we'll have an opportunity where an employee could request more time from the sick leave bank. So again, that's all the changes in there. The holidays are all the same. Those are the changes. And most of them include premiums for dental and health things.
Any other questions on the benefit manual? Do I have a motion to approve the changes?
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the next item on the agenda is our legal services contract.
Yeah, so put an RFP out in February and asked for proposals back by March 14. The Budget and Personnel Committee got those proposals a long time ago. We made an attempt to put this on an earlier agenda. It just didn't work out for various reasons. Plus, we wanted to wait till the Budget and Personnel Committee met and then formally talk about this, which we also did in May. So what you have in here is a contract for our what currently has been our interim attorney, Mr. Henry Smith. He did submit a proposal. The Budget and Personnel Committee did review this and has recommended to the Planning Commission that we enter into a contract with him going forward as our permanent legal counsel for the Planning Commission. And the contract's pretty straightforward. Page 1 shows kind of those rates. We have a flat retainer rate month to month, and then we have a litigation rate if we end up in court.
Any questions on the legal services contract?
No questions, but I appreciate you, Henry,
Yeah, me.
having it on. I know lots of attorneys, so thank you for the work that you do.
Thanks so much. Do I have a motion to approve contract?
I'll move to approve legal services contract for Henry Smith.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, the next is the 26-year live streaming agreement.
Yeah, so if you remember, we had a contract when we started this time last year. We had a contract with Studio 46 to do our live streaming. They ended up disbanding, or not disbanding, just dropping off the contract and kind of got into maybe different services. We entered into a contract with Baker Productions. Andrew Baker's sitting there in the back. We did that kind of mid-year, if you remember last year. in kind of a 6-month fashion. This is a contract moving into this fiscal year. There's a minor revision where he's going to basically focus on the planning commission meetings, and if we have a big kind of BOA, but most other meetings, we're gonna live stream ourselves, like the committee meeting we just did. We're able to live stream kind of pretty easily to these kind of lower tier meetings. So this agreement then is the same kind of rate of pay, hourly rate, and enters us in moving forward for the whole fiscal year with Baker Productions to assist us with our live stream and making sure the planning commission meetings kind of get a little better view when they're out there on YouTube or Facebook. Again, the rate's the same as the prior year.
Any questions on the live stream contract? Anyone prepared to take action?
I'll move we approve the contract with Baker Productions.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any other questions or concerns? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Next is the bill pay list and the finance and budget report. Any questions on either of those? And then the construction sureties report and the permits issued. Any questions on those? Any other announcements?
I'll just tell you, we got cases filed for July, more zone changes in addition to the one we just tabled and the text amendment. So we do have another case that might generate a few bodies in the room. So that'll be next month. So again, when we're going back to the text amendment, maybe we'll find a window here when it's good for you all to focus on that. But we are going to have another zone change next month, which is somewhat contentious probably. So that's about it.
We'll be meeting, I'm assuming in this room probably?
Yeah, I'd love to get back downstairs, and I don't know if the crowd's bigger, same, whatever. But we really can't run the risk of not having enough seats. And knowing that we have to finish up this case, we know at least that crowd's coming back. And the other zone change, the one we had started and got withdrawn, I believe, and it'll probably only 30 people maybe. So if we add those on, I'm not sure how we won't meet in this room. Now, we might structure the agenda where we start up here, and once we get that bigger case done, we can make it first, let's say, and we can just roll on downstairs. You guys are more comfortable there.
That makes it difficult to live stream.
Yeah.
They'll just stay here.
But
We can just stay here. Any other business?
Right, better seats.
Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
All right, do I have a second? Okay, very good.
There was a lot of buzz on the wires today.
Thank you.
Waiting for you for 6 o'clock that night.